Hello, I'm Dr. Daria Brzezinski, and you're watching What Wize Women Want here on Charlottesville's public access television Comcast Channel 13. Every week, we bring you panels of women to discuss topics that are important to all of us. Hopefully, after you hear some of the information we convey, you will be able to make informed choices for yourself, your family, and your community. Ladies, we're 52% of the population, and we have 85% of the purchasing power. Let's use that power to make choices that will make a difference. If you'd like to learn more about the panelists we have on our programs, future programs, or information and contact information for anyone on our panels, past or present, you can go to our website at www.wizewomenwant.com, and Wize is spelled with a Z. There you will find information about other programs that we do as well. We have our panelists today. We're talking about exploring our inner selves, something we haven't talked about on this program. And this will be interesting because we'll be looking at it from many different perspectives. To my right, our first guest is Kristina Weaver, who is a certified meditation teacher for Insight Meditation in Charlottesville. Next to her is JeAnne Frey, who is a certified massage therapist. To her right is Chang, a dancer, a choreographer, and a certified movement analyst. And to her right is Marla Cantor, a hatha yoga teacher, and an interfaith wedding officiant. So, ladies, exploring our inner selves. Let's go to each discipline, first of all, and talk about your various disciplines, because people may not know about the various disciplines that you have. So, Marla, let's start with hatha yoga. What is hatha yoga?
Well, hatha yoga is a physical movement of the body that incorporates breathing and some centering at the beginning and some meditation at the end. So it's moving through your body, opening up the channels and letting go of stagnant energy or chi. So that pretty much covers it, and it leaves you feeling calm and relaxed. I believe that there is an inner atmosphere of quiet that we all have, and that yoga helps us to access that quiet.
Okay. We'll get back to some of the things you said and explain them. Penny, what do you do? Your dance, choreography, movement, what's that all about?
So I'm a dancer, and I do modern dance and structured improvisation. And I think most people know what ballet is. Modern dance is much more down to earth and much more about expressing your inner self. And improvisation goes even a step further, where you actually create movement during the performance and sometimes have to remember and repeat it. So you really have to learn about focus and accessing your inner resources.
Okay. JeAnne, tell us about massage a little bit.
Well, in Commonwealth of Virginia, we're licensed, and so pretty much everyone with a massage license is covered to manipulate the soft tissue of the human body. Now, the way that we all do it is different. So some of us specialize in deep tissue, some people specialize in manual lymphatic drainage, some people are very gentle and you'll be very introspective, other people are a little more dynamic with sports massage. So it's really varied.
Okay.
So.
And Kristina, tell us a little bit about meditation.
Thanks for having us here.
You're welcome.
There are many forms of meditation. The meditation that I practice is called Insight Meditation, or you might also hear mindfulness meditation. And I think the simplest definition is that we're bringing a kind and non-judgmental attention to the experience of life as it is right now in our bodies. And there are various techniques and practices that help to cultivate a quality of acceptance and compassion towards experience as it is.
So each one of you kind of does a movement, but we're so used to our culture with everybody talking about exercise and, for health and for well-being and to lose weight and for all the other kinds of things. But it seems to me that the disciplines that you all have are maybe movement, but in a different kind of way. And so how does your movement equate to what people do in terms of, all right, let's take a massage, for example. Now, we have to admit that somewhere down the road, massage didn't have a very professional reputation a long time ago. And things, of course, are very different now. People have to be certified, and it's a very professional kind of career. So when you do massage, what does that do to the body? How does that movement help the body to move?
Well, there are a lot of organizations doing actual research into massage therapy. And one thing that we keep finding is when you're looking at scientific method, we keep disproving what the theory is. We know we're not removing lactic acid. We don't know what we're actually removing from the muscle tissue, but we do know the benefits of massage. People have reduced blood pressure, overall stress reduction, pain reduction, and premature infants respond very well to massage, to someone who's certified in that. My understanding is that the muscles have a signal to contract. So if you're walking around and your muscles are always contracted, then when you go to contract it more, it can't because it's already there. So the massage eases that, allows everything to open up, and it also brings awareness to the body. So we say, oh, I didn't realize that was sore, or boy, that area is really feeling good right now. I hadn't even noticed.
Well, I know when I get a massage, I feel, one of the things that I notice is if my body's out of balance, it tends to get imbalanced. And as you said earlier, there's all different kinds. There's a soft kind of massage, there's deep tissue massage, there's Swedish massage. So you have to kind of guide yourself and direct yourself towards what it is that you want. How is dance and movement, what does that do to the body, when the body moves? We know that exercise is important, and for example, we keep children in a classroom all day sitting at desks for the most part. They virtually never move. What does dance do to help the body, in terms of movement?
Well, first of all, let me just say something about movement from my perspective. So movement literally keeps everything in our system moving. And that doesn't mean just our physical, it means our mental and our emotional. And that's terribly important. I'm also an energy healer. And if we don't keep moving, we get stuck. We have blocks. And that affects our entire life. It affects our health. I have a friend who's a dancer. She's 78 years old. She performs regularly. She rehearses. Her body and her energy field are so supple, so unlike many women her age. Now, the thing that makes dance different is it's expressive.
Right.
So you actually do get to express what is inside of you. And that is actually really important for your health. Each one of us is unique. We all have a vibration. Nobody else in the world, Daria, has your vibration. You have a single unique vibration. And when we express ourselves, we bring that out into the world. And if we don't do that, then there's something missing. If we don't bring our voice to the chorus in the universe, the universe is missing something very beautiful.
Well, as a therapist, one of the things I used to do with having groups is it's very difficult to ascertain in a group what the issues are because, it's a huge group of people. So what I would have them do is move, no chairs in the room, and have them just move across the room, no music, no nothing. And from their body language alone, I could tell what kinds of issues, they may or may not have. So the body is like a signal. And I've learned as a therapist to read people's bodies when they come in. You can tell by the way people carry themselves, how it is they're feeling about themselves. So yoga really, ties into this in terms of the body. So what kinds of, inner workings does this movement? And there are poses. You can tell us about poses. Mm-hmm. Tell us about centering. You use that word as well. What does yoga do for
Okay, well, first
us?
I'd like to say that a lot of people come to yoga because of stress or because of sore backs. That's really the most popular stress, and to alleviate tight backs. So centering is, as a teacher, I see when people come in and they roll out their mat, and it's this commitment they make to take off the shoes and come in and find their right spot, and they roll out their mat, and as soon as they step on that mat, they're quiet. they'll sit, they wait for class to begin. That's a centering, making a commitment to slowing down.
Very important.
Yeah, and it's really lovely to see that transition from walking in the door and that transition when they walk out as well. So centering would be to slow down, to commit to slow down.
Okay. And so meditation then, we think of movement as just physically moving, the body. But for me and my experience of meditation of going inward, and it's interesting because I've done this over the years and had many different teachers, and I find that there are many places I can go when I focus on different parts. So it's like this journey. We think of every movement being out, in our external world. But I find that when I meditate, I can go, if I concentrate here, I go one place. If I concentrate here, I go another place. So tell us about the movement in meditation in terms of, exploring that inner place.
It's true. Even when you're seated in a seated pose, there can be so much that's happening on the inside, on the surface of the body, in the body's tissues, emotionally. And through meditation, we begin to cultivate an ability to perceive that. The Dalai Lama, in the Tibetan tradition, he says that meditation is really the science of the mind. And you could say that the body is sort of the laboratory. So we talk about working with mindfulness of the body as sort of the basic fundamental foundation of meditation. Everything is always changing. Experience is always changing. And in my meditation tradition, we believe that the source of unhappiness and discontent and suffering comes from wanting to cling to pleasurable experiences and to avoid unpleasant experiences. But because things are always changing, that's just not possible. And so by learning to pay attention to the body, we actually experience how there's constant change at the level of sensations in the body. And we begin to build a capacity to tolerate that. To tolerate when the pleasant becomes unpleasant, to appreciate every experience in a moment-to-moment way.
Well, one of the things our society values is mental. In school, it's all about being mental, intelligence. Everything is about mental exercises and constantly using our mind. And the reason I invited all of you various disciplines is because I feel like what you do takes us out of our mind and takes us. I had a client the other day who said to me, "I can't stop, my head when I go to bed at night and I put my head on the pillow. I just can't stop." So what is it about, you're exploring the inner world of ourselves. What is that inner world? What is that? I mean, is it our mental states? Is it our mind? Is it our feelings? What is it that we're exploring? Anybody have any idea? Penny?
Well, we have a lot of different aspects. We're very complex people. So we have an unconscious, and that unconscious actually has many layers. We do have a mental body, and we have a lot of belief systems within that actually make our reality.
Right.
And our emotional life actually sort of mirrors that. If we believe things should be a certain way and they're another way, then we have an emotional reaction. But a lot of what we are, we're not even aware of. So, for example, if you create a dance, when I choreograph, something comes out of me, and it could come many ways. It could come from an idea, it could come from a piece of music. Lots of times I just see a dance, and then I choreograph it, and I can see it, and I learn something about myself. I see in this dance, whatever it could be, but it allows something to come out of me that otherwise I wouldn't be able to see. So that's one way, and it's very important for us to see those things. It's very important for us to find our self-definition. And this starts with movement very young in the womb. We begin to move, and touch is the first way we get information. When we're in utero, we move and we feel the edge of the placenta, and we get information. There's movement through the umbilical cord, and this is the first time we actually get sensory information, is through touch. And all of our other senses are actually a variation of touch, vibration on the eardrums and all this stuff. So movement gives us a lot of information about ourselves and the world.
Well, JeAnne would be right in terms of touch, because we are a society that doesn't touch each other. I mean, that really, I can't believe the laws we have in terms of teachers not being able to touch their students and things in the formative years when children really need to be touched. And then we end up having to go to a massage practitioner to get that, movement going in the body, whereas we could have had that. So so all of these kinds of exercises seem to me are what activate maybe the kinds of things that we don't get when we're children. But
also, there's a peaceful and there's a calm space that resides in all of us. And we just have to tap into that. And there's many ways to tap into that. All these utilize that, moving inside. And I just wanted to add something too, is that yoga is, or hatha yoga. Hatha, there's a lot to the science of yoga. There's 8 limbs. But in thousands of years ago, yoga was meditation. And the great sages and yogis had discovered practicing meditation that their backs were hurting. And they really couldn't sit very comfortably. And so one yogi said to the other, this is my understanding, this is really great. I'm tapping into my peace and my calm, but my back's hurting me and my hips hurting me. So they actually put together the science of hatha yoga to assist the body to be strong and flexible so they can actually just sit and meditate. And so most people here in the West are much more into the physical postures than the meditation. And there's a lot of varieties of yoga, and some of them that are very geared to...
Just name a few of them.
Yeah.
I know there's quite a few different kinds of yoga.
There's when I first started practicing yoga about 19 years ago, we did hatha yoga. It was the physical part. There wasn't Iyengar or Ashtanga or flow or vinyasa. There weren't all these styles, and then a lot of teachers or gurus came on the scene, and different branches came off. And some of the branches are very, very vigorous, and they're really more geared to young people, I think. But it's good because there's such a science to yoga that at some point their interest through their body, they'll discover the little deeper practices, which is meditation and pranayama, breath work, and it goes on and on through the 8 limbs of yoga, yamas and the niyamas, which is the moral values and
the 8 limbs?
There's 8 limbs in yoga, which is called
What's a limb?
A limb is like a limb of a tree.
Oh,
So,
okay. So there's
yeah.
8 different branches or kinds
And
of...
hatha is just one of them. Hatha is the physical part
Okay.
of the practice.
Now, see, I didn't know that about. I've known meditation yoga all these years. I never realized the offshoot. So, so when it comes to trying to, why on earth would we want to find our inner selves? I mean, first of all, our outside world is so busy, frenetic. I mean, constant between texting and emailing and, all the technology plus, children running here and there. We have to keep them busy so they keep out of trouble, and the television. And why is it that it's important to figure out and go inward to find out, what it is, whatever it is that we need to find out?
It's very powerful. Sometimes in my classes, I will have people inhale and hold the breath, and if they get really quiet and they get behind the breath, they can almost feel the quiet, feel the silence, and behind that is that inner calm and that inner peace. Sometimes I think about, walking through a forest and you see this amazing temple and you just have to bow down, just because it evokes just so much calm. So that's what's in us, and I think that that's what people are searching for, and they know that it's there.
Is that what inner peace is?
I want to say something about that, why it's important to go inner. And I think that as an energy there, I find that the most important thing, it seems to be the most important thing in life, it's almost more important than being loved, if I can say it, is to be seen, to be truly seen. And when you go inside and find your inner self and express that, you're seeing yourself, you're witnessing yourself. And that's terribly important.
It's an interesting perspective. So, in other words, when you get quiet and when you get calm and when you get peaceful, gosh, I even think of people's bedrooms with televisions and digital clocks and, music playing and all those. I can't think of a place in many people's homes where there is a place that's peaceful and quiet. I mean, you really, in this day and age, have to create that kind of space in your home or someplace in order to be able to go inside and be able to, to have that inner peace. So inner peace in terms of why is it, what is the effect of being peaceful inside? How does that help our lives in order to be peaceful?
It's really
Go.
Go on.
I think one of the insights that we discover through these practices, and I'll speak for myself through meditation, is that peaceful place, that place where we are at ease, is always really in existence. So it's about coming to dwell there more and more often. Often when students come to me to learn meditation, they feel those challenges, those distractions. They say that their mind never stops racing. They say that they can't stop thinking. And they have an expectation that through meditation, one should be able to stop thinking, or one should be able to get calm and peaceful.
Yeah, that's what they tell us, yes.
And it is true that is an eventual product, but it's also true that it's partially the attitude and the relationship with the thinking mind and with the distractions. So rather than entering into a practice with an expectation that one should remove that, there's actually quite a lot of craving and aversion caught up in that. So bringing a lot of compassion to the actual experience. Okay, my mind is racing right now. Okay, my toddler is climbing up my body right now. Whatever it is, my iPhone is beeping right now. And trying first to notice, what is that causing to happen in the body and the mind? And how can I adjust my relationship to that, create a little bit of spaciousness around that? And through continued practice, that spaciousness, you begin to dwell in that more and more. And then you can bring that into your relationships with other people too. And I think more and more that this kind of work that we're doing is really the foundation of all the work in the world as well, for greater justice, for greater harmony.
What were you going to say?
Oh, just that it's challenging to live as you really are when you don't know who you are. And most of us are running around trying to tend to this and tend to that and get things done. And by just taking that bit of time to go in, okay, how am I right now? Who am I? How am I feeling? What's going on? That can really shift everything. I encourage a lot of my clients to just take a 10-second break every day. I don't have time to take a break. Everyone can spare 10 seconds. That just taking a moment, okay, where am I? How am I doing? Hit the reset. We can then go on and be more effective and more responsive rather than reactive.
Well, go ahead. What were you saying?
Yoga asks us to be the witness of ourselves, the witness of the body, the breath,
The
and
observer.
the mind. The observer, the witness. Get a keen sense of watching. And so, in yoga, we have Shavasana at the end, which is a deep relaxation where we lie down and we balance ourselves. And it asks us, it's very challenging. It's sometimes categorized as one of the most challenging postures, even though it's total relaxation, because it asks us not to sleep and not to have thoughts of the mind, but to be the observer of ourselves as a peaceful, calm being, so that we rise above and we see ourselves as this calm being.
One of the things that I noticed when I first started doing these various my first meditation was probably the scariest thing that ever occurred. My brother told me about it. And so I went in a room, I had no idea what I was doing, and I sat down, got quiet, and all of a sudden, I thought my experience was observing myself from the ceiling and seeing my body, and I thought, okay, this is really freaky. Is this really happening to me? And so, I've also experienced, like when I got burned, I was standing, it felt like the experience was standing behind myself, watching myself. And I thought to myself, is this what the observer is? And I wonder, is there different parts of, are we this integrated, are we connecting with some part of ourself that we don't ever get connected to because, as you said, the racing mind is just constantly going all the time. And can we really get to the point of not having thoughts?
No. Boy, that would be dull.
I think that the racing mind and the thinking mind, it's doing its job. I think that the challenge in our society right now is that we are so often in hyperstimulation mode, fight or flight mode. It's not the tiger chasing us now, it's the email that came in.
Right.
And so I guess, and I believe that our minds may race to an extent that prior generations did not experience, but at the same time, it's doing its job. And so I think, again, approaching that aspect of ourselves with appreciation as a starting point, and then curiosity. Why is this happening? How is it registering in the body? And as you begin to even ask those questions, you are occupying that witness position.
You asked why we would want to have that, and really what it comes down to, at least I'm sure with any of these genres, is the nervous system, that we're actually calming and working on the nervous system. And when the nervous system is calm, there's two nervous systems: the sympathetic, which does one thing, and that's the fight or flight, and we live in that all the time. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which controls all the systems of the body: respiratory, circulatory. There's about 7 or 8 of them. I can never remember all of them. And so all these modalities actually put us into the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's really a health thing. It's just not calming the mind, but health, stress, disease.
I just want to say it's really important for us to pay attention to our own personal recuperation exertion cycles and our own inner outer cycle. This is something we study. I do Laban movement studies, and it's one of the concepts we work with. And for some people to go inward is a very recuperative thing, and then they're ready to come out in the world again. For some people, it's the opposite. For some people, being in a group like this talking is very recuperative, and looking inward could be very exertive. And in our culture, this is something we really neglect. What is our natural recuperation exertion cycle? And that doesn't have to be going away for 2 weeks. It can be the thing of a moment. My son, when he's learning a new piano piece, will struggle with a new piece for a couple of minutes, and then he'll improv for a couple of minutes. And then he'll go back and struggle with the new piece. And I learned not to insist that he just keep working, because this is his natural recuperation exertion cycle. It can be something very simple and something of the moment. But it's very important to remember, and that we often forget. Many of us work and work and work till we collapse, instead of saying, okay, how can I in this moment recuperate, right?
Well, one of the things that I've learned, I listen to people talk all the time, and they talk about, I'd really like to learn how to be, how to have an out-of-body experience, these things that they hear on the television. And I say, you've been in therapy with me for a while, and you haven't been in your body yet. So, people have no idea the disconnect they have with their body. They have this high tolerance of pain, or as you said, they go and go and go until they collapse. And I think the things that you all do enables people to get back into their bodies instead of, constantly being out of them. And a perfect example of that is, a lot of young people who inflict wounds on themselves in order to be able to feel, because they can't get in their bodies, they can't feel, they can't. So how do these exercises enable you to get back in? I think massage is obvious, and I think dance is obvious, but maybe not.
Well, let me just say a word about the Laban movement studies. I teach a class, I taught it today, that combines the Laban movement studies and the energy healing work. And one of my students came in today and said, well, I know when I go to the gym what I'm doing. What is the point of this class? And he basically said to her what you said. Mostly it's to get you in your body. But we do have very specific exercises we work with as well as the expressive piece. And they are made to integrate the body. And they follow a very specific, they follow basically the development of the human body, which is, we're bilateral people, so we have a left and a right. We have an upper and a lower, a front and a back, and often that is where our disconnect is.
Yes.
Often we're cutting the upper from the lower, or our left and our right sides are really out of balance. And so we have exercises in the Laban world where we work with that. And they were exercises that were used to teach polio victims to walk, and they're also used with dancers and in many other areas.
And most people, they sit crooked, they walk crooked, they stand crooked, and have absolutely no idea that they're out of balance. This is, you're watching What Wize Women Want. I'm Dr. Daria Brzezinski, and our topic today is exploring our inner world. This is Charlottesville's public access television, Comcast Channel 13. And if you'd like more information about any of our panelists, or you'd like to reach them or ask us questions of any kind, you can go to our website at www.whatwisewomenwant.com, and Wize is spelled with a Z. And there you can find our panelists, future shows, past shows, and information about also being able to contact us for future shows and asking us questions. Our panelists today are 4 very interesting ladies with 4 very different disciplines. And they are, to my right, Kristina Weaver, certified meditation teacher of Insight Meditation; JeAnne Frey, who's a certified massage therapist; Penny Chang, who's a dancer, a choreographer, and a certified movement analyst; and Marla Cantor, who's a yoga teacher. Now, how does this help in preventing illness? I know we talked about it in terms of getting in touch with our body, getting in touch with our inner self. How do these kinds of things that we do, how can it help us prevent getting illness? What would that look like?
So many illnesses these days have a huge stress component to them, and all of these disciplines are about reducing that stress in one way or another. Also with the movement, I would imagine with the yoga, certainly with the massage, if you know the way that your body feels when it's functioning well, you're less likely to do something that will injure it. You're just more mindful in your movements.
Well, massage definitely moves out toxins. I mean, I know sometimes when I get a massage, I'm congested, and she tells me to drink tons and tons of water. So, there's movement of, the toxins out of the body. And I'm sure the same holds for dance and for yoga as well. So I would guess that the prevention comes from the fact that, for example, a lot of illness comes from inflammation. So if you're moving out that inflammation from the body and the toxins from the body, it would seem that this is the way to, prevent any kinds of illness. So why do people gravitate to what you do? The different kinds. I mean, there's so many different kinds of. Why would they gravitate to your different kinds of? What would that person look like?
Could I say one more thing about
Sure.
the illness thing? So in the energy healing paradigm, we believe that illness is the last manifestation of a problem.
Right.
That it could start on a spiritual level, mental level, emotional level, and if you haven't healed it in those levels, then it comes into the body. So it's a way of calling your attention to it. So all of these practices affect all of those levels and can keep you healthy, not only in just the physical level, but in the mental level, in the emotional realm, can keep you, like for example, dance, keep you moving, keep things flowing, because as I said, when things get stuck is when you start to have problems.
How come the feeling doesn't last forever? When you do, really, how come why do I have to keep doing it over and over again? Why
This is the nature of reality. Again, nothing lasts forever. Things are always changing. And I think with meditation, increasingly people are coming into this practice because of illness or because of stress in their lives, and they've heard from their physician or their therapist that meditation can help. And there's an increasing body of literature that attests to that it can lower blood pressure, that it can help manage pain and reduce stress. But I think it can also help to cope with the inevitable experience of hardship in the body and in the mind and in relationships. So, and I think these other practices can do that as well.
So I was wondering how a woman, let's say a single mom, for example, would, who doesn't have any time in the day to be able to, take lessons or be able to do these kinds of things. What kinds of suggestion would you give to a single mom who she works all day, comes home, takes care of her kids, just doesn't have the kind of time?
I think that pranayama, breath work, is very important, even if you're not doing any physical practices, because just following the breath brings you inside and it tones the nervous system. You can simply sit at the end of your bed for 3, 4, 5 minutes at night. Perhaps when the baby is sleeping, you can sit down and do it. It's a discipline, and it's hard. I don't know why it's so difficult
to just sit and breathe.
To do that. And I think that's why I fell in love with yoga, because there was a sense of ease and release in my body. I still struggle with meditation. I only meditate after a yoga practice. It's very difficult for me to go off and sit down and meditate. I'm like back, I'm like this, and I've got a million things I want to do. But I can practice yoga all day long because it feels good to me. So it feels good. But yeah, so you can sit at the end of the bed and breathe or just quiet the mind a little bit. It's like I say, it's a practice.
And there are videos for dance and for yoga you can do at home. I offer my class at lunchtime.
Yeah, we'll talk about the single mother though, and
Right.
how that. I don't know. I feel that there's.
Yeah.
Well, even a single mother, though, could maybe
Yes,
watch
I'm
a yoga
saying.
video
Yeah,
and
right.
at home. For people who can afford it, where you work, ACAC has childcare, which is a wonderful thing. I see mothers come and their 4 children go into childcare, and I have one friend who did not for years tell her children there was a swimming pool downtown because this is my time. You know,
Right.
she goes and she does her hour and she leaves her kids there. Nope, I'm not taking you to swim. This is my time.
I think as far as women's issues go also, it's just vital that we teach our children, especially our daughters, that taking time to take care of myself is important too.
You know, there are some yoga classes. Sometimes I name them, and one of my favorite is it's mandatory nap time yoga class. And I talk about how when we were young and we had children and we said it was nap time and we had to do nap time. It was like, no, nap time. And that as an adult, wouldn't it be great if someone said, I just go home and go take a nap? So yeah, I call the class mandatory nap time. And I do everything on the back and recline. We go deep, but we do it on our backs.
One of the things, I think that's really important what you said about taking care of yourself and making an example for your children. One of the things that everyone who has cancer has in common in their energy field is they haven't had enough space for themselves in their life. So it's really important to make, for your health, to make space for yourself.
I am the mother of a toddler.
I was waiting for you to say something.
So sometimes when I meditate, what I really need is a nap, and I let myself have that. But increasingly, when I work with students interested in learning meditation, I try from the very first day to encourage them to release the sense of should and guilt and expectation, and particularly for parents and mothers of small children. I see a lot of that coming into my classes, just a lot of a sense of I'm not present enough, I'm not creating enough time for self-care, and it can be an enormous source of suffering in and of itself. So I'm really, Marla, I really like your idea around something that feels very manageable. Of course, I would love all of my students to become established in an everyday seating practice of a half hour. I don't always reach that myself in the midst of my 18-month-old and my full-time job. And so I say, what about 5 minutes? What about one mindful bite of food in the week?
Yeah.
And I call it the grace of mindfulness. Sometimes just these little moments of coming into awareness of life as it is right now in this body,
yeah, present moment, yeah.
can really reverberate through our lives in a beautiful and mysterious way.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. My husband and I took a program of meditation at Yogaville, and we were determined to go home and meditate. And first 3 days we did really well. And then we made this pact that one of us had to meditate. We would tag team. Okay, so he did it 2 days. He would tag team me. I would do it the next day, so on and so forth. Then he would do it 4 days, and I would do it 1 day. It ended up dissolving, but it was an interesting way to try to meditate.
Well, I was
Yes.
thinking about, it takes a commitment, and it takes, the ability to be able to be disciplined. And so for a person who's not disciplined, how can you motivate those kinds of people who, they're not disciplined in their everyday life, and they're very happy to go to a job from 9 to 5, and that's about as disciplined as they can get. So how do you help a person become disciplined in terms of doing something for themselves when they haven't been, taught that in their life? Especially we women, we're taught to give, and don't take the opportunity. And I believe that what you all do is a way of regenerating and rejuvenating and, giving back to ourselves. You don't have to give yourself ice cream or take yourself out to a movie or things like that. But these are the kinds of way to rejuvenate. So how do you help somebody who's not disciplined? I'm sure you've had somebody.
Make it fun.
Yeah.
That's why I dance, because it's fun. It's an exercise. I mean, it's very strenuous, but it's a lot of fun.
Fun, yeah.
I take a class at McGuffey Art Center with my teacher, Catherine McGuire, and we just have so much fun.
Okay.
And for me, yoga feels good. It feels juicy in my body. It feels really good. So I'm drawn to that. And I also, feel when I'm practicing that there's, whether I take a class or I have my own practice, there's a time in my practice that something switches, that kind of elevates, and even if I'm not feeling bad, but just something changes, and I'm a little addicted to that change. It's just a shift in my perspective when I breathe and I stretch my arms overhead. And yeah.
What's the best advice you ever got in your life?
As it pertains to in our lives.
Yeah. What was the best advice you ever got?
Be gentle with yourself.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was huge for me.
Why was that important?
Like a lot of women, I am absolutely my own worst critic, and I have standards for myself that are just way up there that even I can't attain. And so, allowing myself to be human and not hit target every time was just very, very helpful.
So you're a perfectionist?
Just a wee bit, yeah.
Anybody else? What?
When I had a young child, I was very exhausted. I took an authentic movement workshop with Simona Aronow, who's a massage therapist and dance therapist and a certified movement analyst in this city. And she taught me something really important. She said, I was trying to figure out what classes to take in this workshop, and she said, well, ask your body. Ask your body. And I never forgot that. And when I'm trying to figure out really what I want to do, I ask my body, which is a very different thing than asking your mind or even your heart, but ask your body, where is your body? And really listen for the answer. That was a piece of very important advice.
Do you have a woman in your life who's influenced you? Can you name any woman in your life who's influenced you the most? Any of you?
Well, I was just thinking, my advice recently came from one of my oldest friends, who's living in California now, my friend Yvonne. And in the midst of me reaching out and sort of acknowledging that as a mother of a young child, I am trying to do it all, and I'm struggling every day with feelings of kind of not measuring up or feeling frustrated. And she said, want what you have, do what you can, and be who you are. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Say that slowly.
Want what you have, which to me is one of the most challenging koans. Do what you can, and be who you are.
Wow, that's important and very hard to do. Anyone else have a woman who's influenced her? Marla?
Well, I can't think of one offhand, but one saying that I really like, which is be yourself and have fun. Because when I started teaching yoga, I really don't like public speaking, and I still don't, and I've been teaching for about 14 years. And if I wanted to make an announcement in the class, I get really nervous, even though my class might have 30 or 40 people. But I picked this little, the little wish things or the little motivating things you pick out of a jar in a massage therapist's office. And it said, when I first started teaching my very first class, I picked it and it said, be yourself and have fun. And I still have it. So
you definitely have fun.
I do have fun.
I have two women I want to mention who influenced me. One was the president of Bryn Mawr College when I was a student there. Her name is Mary Patterson McPherson, and she's still fairly active in the world. And she taught me a lot about tact and diplomacy, which I need to learn a lot about, and about speaking truth to people, but in a way that they can hear it. And then there's my teacher locally, Catherine McGuire, and she taught me about being really present in the moment and about taking what's inside of you and bringing it out to the world.
Well, we heard from Penny about how the direction that she, how she got in the direction of movement. But how did you all get into the direction that you went to? Why did you go to meditation?
I began meditating about 10 years ago. My initiation was a 10-day silent retreat, which is a little rigorous.
Whoa.
In retrospect, I'm glad that I started that way, but it's not necessary.
Tough.
That's how you started?
That's how I started. But I think I felt called to it in a mysterious sense. But what I will say is that it was a time in my life when there was a lot of difficulty, a lot of illness, a lot of difficulty in my family, a lot of stress. And I immediately found that this was going to help and be beneficial. So 10 years later, I'm glad to be sharing it with other people.
10-day meditation to start, that's a tough one. Wow, normally people do 3 or 4 and not 10. Did you find it difficult?
Of course, there were challenges. That's part of the process. But it was a very powerful immersion.
So you were able to quiet your mind.
Well, I was able to understand my mind. I was able to understand that there were quiet moments and there were chattering moments. And I was able to feel so much more in my body. And to touch into that sense of ease and peace that's sort of underneath and surrounding all of the chatter.
What directed you to massage?
Well, I was in the midst of a lot of downsizing in my corporate job and decided I wanted to do something that I'd be able to stick with. With massage, I can be both very technical and anatomical and at the same time wildly intuitive. And so that's a very good combination for me.
How did you manage to pick massage out of all the disciplines you could do?
Well, I actually went through with someone who did the Myers-Briggs career counseling, and it was one thing that looked promising. It was that. I thought about becoming a ballroom instructor, and now I'm not that fun a dancer by any stretch of the imagination, and wanted to keep that fun. And I thought about hospice work as well, and was worried about burnout. So took an intro course in massage and was instantly in love and knew I found what I was here to do.
That's amazing. Marla, how did you get involved in
I don't
yoga?
know how I came to do yoga, but there was a class that was offered through the Park and Recreation about 19 years ago, and so I took it, and I remember the teacher asking why we were there, and I remember saying I don't know, and but I didn't think I would like it because I like to move, I like to dance, and I kept going back every week for 2 years when I realized, when someone asked if I wanted to go shopping, have a margarita, and I'm like, no, I have my yoga class. I realized, oh, I really like this. And just at that time, yoga studios started opening up, and I was always the first one to show up. I just really went out searching. So I don't know, just luck, I guess. I really don't know.
And I want to say it's never too late. I started dancing seriously when I was 37 years old. My friend, who's 78, started dancing when she retired from being an occupational therapist. And she dances and performs, she goes around the country and does it. So it's never, ever too late.
For any one of the disciplines.
Right.
Absolutely.
Never.
And I have experienced all of them that you are all practitioners of. And for me personally, I am not a person who, I'm very disciplined in my work life and in my regular life. But as far as these, I feel like I gravitate to massage sometimes, I gravitate to yoga sometimes, I gravitate to dance sometimes, I gravitate to meditation. It's not that I've created them as disciplines in my life all the time. And I think that's something that people need to know, that you don't have to do these things all the time and be, we've got plenty of structure, and many of us who are really structured in our lives don't have to think about these things as something you have to do forever once you learn it. But that you can experiment with these different things. You all were lucky because you found exactly what it is that works for you. But the whole point of doing these programs is to get people interested in what they gravitate towards, whether it's yoga or massage. And I know people have experimented with different things and say, well, I don't really like that. And so the whole point is to try different things and to see what works for you and to help you de-stress. Because those of us who are therapists, we find that people are so sedentary and so stuck in who they are that it shows up in every part of their life, whether it's, they become hoarders and start accumulating things, or they, the money in their life is just not moving, or whatever it is, and what we have to understand is these things are from many different levels. So if you're working on your inner self, it comes out, as you said earlier, Penny, about your friend, it comes out and the outside of yourself. So the discipline, whatever it is that you reach towards, once you start getting in touch with that inner part of yourself, it comes out, in the outer expressions of yourself. So how would you say, what were you going to say, Marla? You were saying?
Well, it's just something that Oprah had said, I read in a magazine, that she was asking somebody about, well, if I meditate or I do a lot of yoga, will I reach nirvana? Will I, kind of be godlike? And she's, because I don't really care about that. She said, if I could do just enough that I could be a good person and feel good every day,
Right.
And that, I thought that was pretty amazing, because I know when I went through my teacher training through yoga and we were all kind of hungry, I remember students asking, well, how much do I have to meditate to have nirvana? And I'm like, I wasn't interested in nirvana, you know. And when I heard Oprah say that, it really spoke to me. You know, how much can I do just to be a good person, to be calm, to be, you know.
Great objectives. Because in this world today, you know, it seems that, you know, capitalism and everything else drives us to do all these things outside of ourselves rather than explore the inner world. And I have to say, you know, meditation and massage and all these other disciplines, I mean, there's a sense of euphoria, you know, when you are able to get in touch with some parts of yourself that you haven't been in touch with before. And so, you know, I can see how people could really benefit from this, but it takes getting out from in front of the television, even though you may be watching today. It takes getting out from in front of the television, even sitting in front of the television and, you know, doing yoga, standing in front of the television, or moving, you know, to dance. And I was thinking earlier, even a single mom could, you know, put on a record and dance with her children, you know, move around the room with her children. There's all kinds of ways to get in touch with that inner self, but really to get quiet and to, you know, move outside of yourself, to be inside your body, but outside of yourself is really, really important.
I find if you can get to a class, it helps. It really makes a difference. I'm in a meditation group and someone came to me and said, wow, it's so different to meditate in a group than at home by myself. And especially if you pay for a class, then you have the sense that you need to go. And for dance, Piedmont Virginia Community College is a great place to go because they really accept anybody of any level and the classes are not, you know, too expensive. And that's a great way to start moving. I don't know where you would, I don't know for massage or yoga where you advise beginners to go, but.
Well, there's, of course, the school right here. I know I'm not the only massage therapist in town who offers couples tutoring or, you know, home use techniques and that kind of thing. And we instinctively, you know, something hurts, we rub it, you know.
Exactly.
There are videos out there for folks to learn, and just tons and tons of resources. So.
And I would echo that with meditation. And in my tradition, we say that the community is as important as the teachings and the teacher. So often people begin meditating from a book or from an audio or a video, but if you can find your way to some community, whether it's one other person or a room of 50 people, you will find energetically you feel so supported in the practice.
I wonder why that is. Why do you feel better doing it with other people than alone?
Well, that's the energy that we have in us. That's the power, you know.
Is it because we're disconnected in our everyday lives so much, or you know,
a group is just much more powerful than an individual?
Something about the energy. I know that after a yoga class, excuse me, we'll do a little bit of meditation, and the class might have just ended like a minute ago, but it's so quiet in there, and it's so wonderful. I don't want to stop it, you know, but have a time frame. Yeah, don't know why that is, but it's lovely.
When I lead energy healing workshops with a group of people, the kind of healing work I can do with someone in that group, so I'm the same person doing the healing, the group is holding the space, but the kind of work I can do with that person in 3 or 4 minutes is exponential compared to what I might do by myself in my office.
So it's
in even a much longer period of time.
Well, I'm glad you brought up this point because, you know, I think we've been emphasizing doing individual work and not group work. So, you know, to be able to talk to people in terms of making sure you're connected. But I'm an introvert, so, you know, I like doing things by myself, and, you know, it gets to be overwhelming when you have groups of people. But, you know, I can see that doing things in a group somehow enhances and supportive of what it is that you do. So, and there are so many places around town. There's a meditation group on, you know, a couple of nights or days during the week here.
The Insight Meditation Community of Charlottesville, where I teach, meets Tuesday nights at 7:30 at Java off of 29. And then we also offer teachings at the Common Ground space in the Jefferson Center.
Which, by the way, also is a good outlet for yoga and it's sliding scale based as well.
Right. So there are many, many places in town where people can go. And, you know, no matter where it is that you live, if you're in Charlottesville, no matter where it is that you live, these kinds of offerings are all over the place now because people are so aware of how we need alternative and complementary kinds of therapies, which is what I consider all of this to be, you know, massage and yoga. And, you know, these are alternatives to helping people both prevent illness and to move through the kinds, both psychological and physical illnesses that they may have. So, you know, I think this is all really important topic for people to gravitate to and to become calm in your life with all the crazy that we have in our life. Absolutely. You know, with the distractions and the inability to filter information that bombards us. I mean, just walking out the door with all of the, you know, posters and things of that nature is really unbelievable. So let's go around before we end our program and talk about finishing this sentence. The purpose of life is, anybody? The purpose of life is, just shout at the top here.
Show up.
That's have
To
fun.
show up.
Show up.
Have fun.
To have fun.
To have fun, that's what I would say. And to, what I said before, express your vibration, your particular vibration.
Okay?
I think I would agree with the Dalai Lama, to be happy.
To be happy.
Absolutely.
Okay? So we have been talking today about the inner world of exploring our inner world. And, you know, I implore all of you to take a moment and try and introduce yourself to one of these kinds of disciplines and to get in touch with that inner part of yourself, because you'll be amazed at how much creativity, intelligence, and all kinds of other things that come your way if you experience this in your life. So we here have been talking about, to my right, we've had Kristina Weaver, who's been talking about meditation, and we've had JeAnne Frey, who has been talking about massage, and Chang, who has been talking about dance and choreography and movement, and Marla Cantor, who has been talking about yoga. And these are the women you can connect with if you feel you'd like to gravitate towards any one of these topics, or you can go to our website at www.whatwisewomenwant.com, and of course Wise is spelled with a Z, and you can ask us about any questions or talk to us about any of our future programs. We'd like to hear from you. If you've got something you'd like to have asked on a future program, please connect with us on www.whatwisewomenwant.com. And this is Dr. Daria Brzezinski thanking you for being with us tonight. Have a good evening.